Vault cleaning mania has spread throughout the Destiny community, and I've been getting asked from all of you to help you clean your vaults. Obviously, there is no way for me to individually help every single one of you one-on-one, but what I will be trying to do today is give you some of my principles for cleaning your vault. If you've watched the videos with Fallout or Mr. Fruit, a lot of this is going to be repeated, but if not, well, here we go. Before we start though, yes, a lot of these vault space problems could be solved if Bungie simply gave us more vault space. That being said, I'm guessing the vast majority of players are not capped on vault space, and more often than not, players are just keeping a lot of garbage in their vaults. That or you're hoarding too much stuff that you really don't use. Regardless of the situation, you're out of space in your vault, and you need to do something about it. So, what should you look for when cleaning out your vault? The easiest things to get rid of are duplicate exotic weapons. Besides Hawkmoon and Dead Man's Tale, there is zero reason to keep duplicates of exotic weapons. But, in continuing with exotic weapons, most people also do not need to have every exotic weapon on tap ready to go at a moment's notice. Most probably don't even need half of them. Now, if you want to keep kill trackers and all that, knock yourself out, but most people do not need to keep the lower tier exotics in their vault at all times. You don't need Borealis ready to go, is what I'm saying. You don't need Sturm ready to go. So you can get rid of some of those lesser used exotic weapons. Exotic armor is a slightly different story due to the elemental energy system. This is where you may want duplicates of exotics. However, do I think the average person needs duplicates of their exotics? No. There are some really specific cases where you may want dupes, like Phoenix Protocol, for example, to have one of each element for the elemental resistance mods in case you enter any sort of difficult activity. An exotic of that level? Sure. Have a couple duplicates in there if you're at that level, but otherwise, I think most people can get away with simply having one of an exotic. Pick the best stat rolled item and ditch the rest. If you're not sure which one of the ones you have is the better roll, I'll get to that when we talk about armor. Alright, so let's get to the heavy stuff now, guns. We're going to start with sunset weapons. Now from a PvE perspective, there's literally no reason to keep sunset weapons. They're capped at 1100, they'll never be useful again. I do not see Bungie unsunsetting sunset weapons, as it would cause thousands of players to rage about deleting old weapons that they would have kept. So this comes down to sentimental value. How much has the weapon impacted your time in the game? Would you really care if it was gone? The example I used with Fallout was Pokemon cards, because most people understand Pokemon cards, right? A card could be really rare, but if nobody really cares about that card, it's not going to have a lot of value. You kind of need to do the Pokemon card test on yourself. You might have some old seasonal weapons that are sunset, that are rare, but how much does that gun really matter to you? Does that machine gun from Season 8 that you never used, but you're just keeping around because it's rare, really have that much sentimental value? Do Year 1 weapons that you haven't touched in forever have that much value to you? Sunset, Pinnacle, and Ritual weapons can be pulled out of collections, so the only reason to keep those in your vault is either because of kill count or because it means something to you. For example, I kept Randy's throwing knife because I loved the weapon and it has a decent kill count on it, but something like Oxygen SR4 can be very easily ditched, at least out of my vault. I kept my Recluse because it has the highest kill count out of any of my weapons, and I kept my Go Figure because it has the second highest, and because it was the first gun that I really attached myself to in Forsaken. These are examples of good sentimental reasons to keep old guns. Now, for me, in particular, a bad reason to keep something was when I kept Sins of the Past, a rocket launcher, from Leviathan because I had one of an element that wasn't the one from Collections. I had no special bond to it otherwise, it was just because I had a different element on it. And that's probably something to get rid of. I have multiple PvE roll weapons in my vault as well that are sunset, or were. I forget if I got rid of them. I haven't touched them in ages. I'm not breaking them out for PvP, and even if I wanted to, I'm sure there is something that is not sunset that I could just use instead. Now, it's very true that PvE roles can be and generally are good in PvP. But the question I ask you is, have you used it recently in PvP? Have you used it ever in PvP? If the answer is no, then getting rid of a PvE-focused sunset weapon should be pretty easy. PvP weapons, on the other hand, can stick around if you are actively using them. I saw Jez using a spare rations in a video the other day. That's a great example. Incredibly good gun, still actively using it in PvP. No reason to get rid of that. There's no issue with using sunset weapons in quick play. You might get some people judging you for latching on to old guns, but that's really about it. But you need to ask yourself, has this been used? When was the last time I used it? When was the last time I cared about this weapon at all? Would I even remember that I had it if I delete it? We can do the, but it's a good PvP role, talk all day, but it doesn't mean anything if you haven't actually used it. Next are non-sunset weapons, which is arguably the toughest section. The easiest thing to do is simply dig through your vault for junk, and by junk, I mean old infusion fodder that you threw into the vault and then forgot about. Easily the most common, most easily deleted items that I have seen. Next, we want to look at duplicate weapons because they are much easier to analyze than guns that you only have one of. If you have 7 copies of a gun, maybe let's work on getting that down to like 2 or 3. Again, 99.9% of people do not need 7 versions of the same gun. Ideally, we're looking at 1 or 2 copies for PvE, maybe 1 or 2 for PvP, depending on where you spend your time. Maybe you get 2 for PvP and none for PvE. It all depends on what you like. So how do you justify which ones to delete? Well, we would need to look at weapon roles and really filter down what roles are the best. I'm not going to go into too much depth here with weapon roles in this video. Go check out any of the other weapon role videos I've done for more information on weapon roles. But generally speaking, for PvE, you're looking for a reload perk and a damage perk for a primary weapon. For special and heavy weapons, it really depends on the gun and the circumstances in which you will use it. For example, primary weapons, you're looking for reload plus damage perk for 95% of guns for 99% of players. Reload perk, damage perk. Outlaw Rampage, great. Rapid Hit Kill Clip, great. Stuff like that. Those are safe bets. That's not to say that other roles can't be good, because they can. But for most cases, a good gun will have that combo of perks on them, and as you get more familiar with the game, you can make more specific choices. Snipers are about sustained damage, so triple tap's good, clown cartridge is good, fusions like Reservoir Burst for PvE, maybe Under Pressure for PvP, PvP shotguns like range perks, so accurized rounds, slide shots, stuff like that. 1-2 punch for PvE, maybe opening shot for PvP. GLs like auto loading and spike grenades, maybe blinding grenades too for PvE. Power weapons, I treat machine guns like primary weapons, so reload plus damage perk. Boss damage oriented weapons, enjoy Vorpal weapon as a perk if you can't get anything better. That's a pretty safe perk to have. Auto loading is always going to be good. Swords, Relentless Strikes, and Whirlwind Blade, pretty safe pick there even after the nerf to Whirlwind Blade. Now again, there's a lot more nuance that can go into picking which weapons to keep, which to ditch, but if you're looking for a very quick and easy way of figuring out what's good and what's not, those are some rules that I would abide by. Another rule would be just, you know, pick whatever you're using the most. You know, if you have 6 copies of a gun, but you're only using 1 of them, it doesn't really matter how good those other roles are, because you're not using them. I've done vault cleanings where I've seen multiple copies of a gun, and the person I'm interviewing will say, oh, I also have this masterworked version with 30,000 kills on it. You know, it seems like to me you've made the choice already. Either try out all of your roles and see if you like them, or just get rid of them. Or at least pare them down to a more reasonable number. When it comes to guns that you only have 1 copy of, the 2 things I would say are you using it? And is this the only version of a certain archetype and element that you have? For example, if you only have 1 solar auto rifle or 1 void machine gun, then you might want to keep it simply to have it for any sort of nightfall situation you might find yourself in or champion-based content. Having those options will help you in the future, assuming you're doing that level of content, because we just don't know what is and isn't going to be important in champion-based content season over season. But if you have multiples of the same types of guns, then you can probably slim those down a little bit. PvP weapons are a big issue for players because of the what if scenario. What if Bungie buffs this gun, this perk, this archetype? And yeah, I totally get it. I get the paranoia that happens from that. But if you have 20, 30, 40 what if guns in your vault, then I just don't think that's healthy. It's not very common that we see entire archetypes of weapons go from junk tier to god tier overnight. Also, we tend to learn about potential what if buffs well before a patch is deployed. So, worst case scenario is that you go hunting for rolls of guns that might become good, and hopefully by the time the patch goes live, you will have something. Ultimately, when it comes down to hoarding what if guns, my philosophy is this. If you delete something that you will end up wanting again down the road, the odds are that you'll get another one. You'll get another sniper. You'll get another hand cannon. It might not be the exact same thing. It might have a different minor perk or a different masterwork, but you'll get another one. Try not to get too caught up in the what if. Finally, we come to armor. If you're like me, at some point you were just throwing in tons of well-rolled armor pieces into your vault because you didn't know what to do with them. And now it might be full of armor that you have no idea what to do with, but you don't want to get rid of it because it's all good. My recommendation for this, besides just digging through your armor and getting rid of any bad drops that might have found your way into your vault, is to load up whatever tool you prefer for making armor sets and sit down and make some armor sets. I did a video a while back on Destiny Item Manager's loadout tool. It's only gotten better since then. I would go check that video out. And I know there's other tools as well, so feel free to drop your favorites in the comments and I'm going to add them to the description. But what you're doing here is putting those pieces of armor to use. Use these tools to help you make armor builds. They will give you the most ideal stat distributions based on the gear that you currently have available to you, and you'll be able to specialize however you want. This is where exotic armor duplicates come into play. If you have duplicates of exotic armor and you don't know which one to get rid of, use the tools to make armor sets and see what those tools say to use, and then get rid of the stuff that you don't use. What kind of sets should you make? Well, that's completely up to you based on what you're doing or what you like. I have multiple sets of armor across all characters for all modes of play. I got GM Nightfall builds, I got Stasis builds, I got builds solely based on exotics. Whatever you can think of, make it. The reason we do this is, 1, so you have good armor sets, 2, so you can clear out your vault of other armor pieces, and 3, which is the most important in my opinion, so you don't have to worry about just deleting armor as you get it from drops. It can be very paralyzing to get a well-rolled piece of armor. You want to use it, it's natural that you want to use it because it's good, but it needs to serve a purpose. If you've gone through the effort of making a bunch of armor sets, having fully optimized this and that, it's all masterworked, then you really have no need for almost any armor anymore. Because trying to incorporate it into your armor sets will potentially mean having to redo a bunch of armor sets. Now, if you really want to do that, you can, but I think it's a waste of time to try to respec 4 armor sets just to get a 1-tier upgrade to your resilience on one of them. It's just not worth all that time. So, now that you have a bunch of sets of armor, you can simply delete armor as it comes in to your inventory without a care in the world. And that is a very liberating feeling. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't keep any extra armor. Again, multiple chest pieces for elemental resistances are good, but also wanting to keep a couple of well-rolled armor pieces for the future is not a terrible idea. Things change, maybe you want to make a new set for a different build, maybe something gets buffed, or you want to reorganize some stuff, that's totally fine, but just know your limits. After you make your sets, you shouldn't even want to keep the majority of your stuff flowing into your inventory. And it makes it so only the absolute best of the best stat distributions are making it into your vault, because you're deleting anything else that could even be potentially questioned as to how good it actually is. That's what I got for you guys on cleaning your vault. If you do end up doing some vault cleaning, please tweet some before and after pictures at me, at Datto's Destiny on Twitter. I want to see what you're all capable of cleaning out. Feel free to drop your own recommendations in the comments. I've linked the Mr. Fruit and the Fallout videos in the description as well if you want to go check out those. Let's make Destiny more about playing the game and less about worrying about what to clear out of your inventory. Thank you very much for watching. Please go buy some merch. I will see you next time.